Welcome to Elevate the Game, where DFW's top leaders drop gems on success, strategy, and legacy with your hosts, George Abreu and Eric Badiwala. Let's get into it.
Today, I'm joined by Blythe Christopher, a program and project management professional with a background in UX design and multiple Agile and PMP certifications. She specializes in aligning teams, processes, and user experience to drive efficient execution and scalable outcomes. Thank you for joining us today. If you can give us a 30-second version of what you do, who do you help, and how do you make money?
Sure. I'd like to say I come in with a lot of teams with ambiguity, and especially if it's cutting edge technology, I come in and I try to, organize the chaos and just make sure that teams know where they are and that we're reporting for the right things for leadership, and that, we start codifying how the team is going to work. That's where I think my creativity comes in. By the time, we've gotten a couple of sprints under our belt, so to speak, we've gotten to the place where we're really running on all cylinders. And I feel that's where, I like the team to shine, and I like to set them up for success.
Got it. And who do you service? Are you working for other companies or how does it?
I've been contracting on and off for a while, but I've worked for Apple. I've worked for Dell. I just got off of a job with IOHK out of the UK, and we were doing blockchain, very innovative work. And as you can imagine, like with that level of cutting edge innovation, there's just a lot of times people are like, there's so much to do, so little time to do it, and you need to put some processes in place. So, the first couple of sprints, people are like, oh my God, this is too much time. But once you show them how good it is and how you can make their lives easier and more understandable, everybody's generally like, okay, yeah, I'm a convert now.
Nice. Maybe if you can take us back a little bit, how did this all start?
So I used to think, which I've now debunked myself, but I used to think that people were good at taking complex technical concepts and processes and being able to communicate that to other people. I don't know why, but I thought, other people can do this. And turns out not so much, right? So one of my strengths is I'm able to get in there and go, okay, I see where we're at. This is, let's get down to the crux of the matter. What's blocking us? What needs to be removed? What's our goals? That seems to be a little more rare of a skill set than I originally thought. And I'm a learner. And my first thing is like, I don't know how to do this. Well, let me learn how to do it. And then usually once I learn how to do it, I like to tell other people how to do it and pass it on.
Nice. So, this is a pretty crowded market. What do you do differently that actually shows up in results, and where do you see others getting it wrong?
So one of the things, just to be disclaimer here, I just got laid off on Monday, and I know,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and it's just because we built an ecosystem, and they had to do some pretty deep cuts, and I was one amongst a lot of people and very, very accomplished people, and now I'm in that same pool of people looking for new gigs, right? So yeah, that differentiation, that's a big deal. I think where people have told me and other teams and other leadership that I'm really good about that. You got 3 minutes with leadership, and you need to tell them what's going on, and you need to get down to that. Here's where I need your decision. Right. So I think that's where I excel. I can take things, distill them pretty easily, and make that 1 minute pitch of like, okay, here's where I need your attention, and could you give us a decision, and give them enough information that they can grok what's going on.
Got it. Got it. So if someone wants to get really good at whatever their strength is, what are the first two things that they should start doing immediately?
Like doubling down on their strengths. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one of the things, again, communication is such a big deal, especially with technical teams. Um, and if you see somebody that you're like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. This is one of my strengths. I know I want to dig deeper, but on your team, there's somebody that you look up to. First thing I would do is just, get comfortable with them and just say, hey, how did you get here? How did you develop this skill? How did you get this deep knowledge? I usually look for the mentors. And then it's sort of a inside out. Then once you can find a mentor, then you start looking around in the ecosystem and you see who the big players are. And you're like especially with blockchain, everything's so new. I was talking to one of our UX researchers, and he had mapped out all these different influencers in the blockchain space. And I was looking through the clusters and I was like, there's 3, 4 people I know I need to talk to. So, you try to find the landscape externally, but then you look internally for someone that's got that skill set that you really want to develop.
Nice, nice. That makes sense. So find a good mentor and then get in front of those people that you
Yeah.
should be talking to.
Yeah.
Um, what's a so kind of taking a different spin here. What a lot of people talk about investments and passive income, but in your experience, what have you seen that actually works and what doesn't? And what should people be careful of?
Um, yeah, I'm really, I mean, I diversify everything. It's just I've got things everywhere. I always say I've got little pockets everywhere. One of the things that I try to tell people if they're investing in things, number one, I know people tell you this all the time, but do your own research, but you do need to go do your own research. I have a
Mhm.
friend of mine that she's almost 88 years old. She does a lot of market and she does all the candle sticking. She knows all that. And she spends most of her day just researching, researching, researching. But if we're talking more of the emergent market and passive income, one of the things, if you look into Bitcoin or Ethereum or Cardano, one of the things you should start thinking about is just placing a little bit of money, into Ethereum. And then what you can do is stake it. And basically, you're getting, I think it's like 4.5 right now. So basically, you get this Ethereum, you on a platform. If you're not using it, let it make money for you, just like compound interest, right?
Yep.
So if you're getting 4.5 on, a platform, you just got yourself some Ethereum. You don't need to do anything with it. Just let it sit there, loan it out to somebody. I've made over the years, I didn't put very much in at first because, again, I'm risk averse, as I like
Yeah.
to say. But over time, that really does make you some money if you can leave it there. So that's one of my best things I tell people.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. I've got all my cryptos staked right now and
Yep.
um yeah, it's like you said, it's made some decent returns.
Yep.
So what are you focused on? You know, you just mentioned you got laid off, so I'm sure you're kind of looking for
Yeah.
maybe your next
My next gig. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But other than that, what are you excited about over the next 6 to 12 months and that you plan on working on?
So, I started after my MBA. We got a grant from the college I went to, and we started a DAO. It's a decentralized autonomous organization. I'm sure you've heard of it. I always tell people it's a mouthful, but it's worth it. So I always tell people rally around an idea. Like one of the first things that got me so excited about DAOs is it was very early on. People were using that concept to do a token for rhino conservatorship. Do I say that right? You're trying to preserve rhino habitat and rhinos, right? And so they did an early token so people could invest in something they care about. It's not on, it's not in the normal market, but you could be part of this membership and you would feel good about, hey, I'm helping these rhinos survive. So ours is around the idea of upcycling. And if you've never heard of that, that just means we take what might be considered trash and we upcycle it and we make it into something useful or beautiful. And our entrepreneurs actually sell that. So they're making money and we're keeping that value in the circular economy. So the DAO is this idea that we've rallied around, but I stake Ethereum for it, and we fund projects for our entrepreneurs so they can go to farmers markets, or maybe they need equipment, or maybe they need materials to, upcycle things. So I think DAOs are the future. I think that's how we should invest because it's things we care about. It's not necessarily, I mean, it's great to be on the market, and I love to see my numbers go up if, Apple's doing better or Dell's doing better. That's fine. But this is something you can actually feel really good about because you're like, this is an idea that's, it's preserves an ecosystem and it builds community.
Interesting. So you can pretty much do it around anything, I guess, is it?
Yeah.
And
One of the things I wish I'd see more of it, I just did a deeper dive this morning, but healthcare. Right now, healthcare is it's pretty bad. Not going to go into the specifics, but what if you had a committed group, could be family and friends, but you wanted to put money into stake into Ethereum and make decisions, but you could fund your own healthcare in your small group. Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
yeah, yeah, no, that's interesting. I hadn't heard about that. I'm gonna
Yeah,
look into it.
yeah. And there's not many people doing right now. I've seen one or two, but I'm like, as I'm looking to the future, I'm like, well, you know what? Nobody's going to do it for us. And if we want to feel protected and somewhat, like we can fund what we need to, this DAOs would be the way to go.
Hmm. Um, so what's maybe one thing that you believe about your industry that most people would disagree with? Is there anything that comes?
Oh, okay.
I know that one's a little tough one, but
That was a little tough. Okay, so I'm thinking just my last gig was blockchain, right? And I think people think blockchain is going to solve everything. I've heard that before. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not going to solve everything. If you have a specific idea of how the blockchain could work, and especially if you want privacy and you want to make sure that, corruption is at a minimum, yeah, blockchain will work for you, but throwing it on everything, it's not going to work. It's very complex and it's got some great use cases, but it's not for everything.
yeah, I've seen it with, so I'm heavy into real estate, and they've been saying it for years now, right? That blockchain is going to change
Yeah.
everything when it comes, which I do truly believe we'll get there, but I mean, the implementation of it it's taken a while. I mean, we're
Yeah.
not,
It's complex. It takes a lot of people, takes a lot of people with big brains.
Mhm.
And I always liken it to herding cats because, you're trying to rally people around this idea of what we want to do. And a lot of it has to do with privacy and, just making sure that the blockchain keeps out as much corruption as possible. It's just complex and it just takes
Yeah.
a lot of time and energy.
Okay. Well, before we wrap it up, what's one piece of advice you'd give someone trying to get to where you are? And um, yeah, let's start there.
Okay. It's funny that you asked that because someone asked me that the other day, and I was like, oh, okay. I am always looking for like, oh, what is the coolest tech that's out there. I'm always looking for something like, oh, I don't know how to do that, and I want to learn. Like IoT, I know nothing about that, but I'm like, I really want to learn how that works. That'd be super cool. How to learn, how do we connect things, the world IRL via Wi-Fi and be able to go back and forth. I'm always looking for the next thing that I don't know anything about. Be curious, basically.
Nice. I like it. I like it. And last thing, if somebody wanted to connect with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Sure. I'm on Instagram for at Sorcery DAO. You can always DM me there.
Okay. Okay. We'll put that in the notes.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today and really appreciate it.
Thank you, George. This is awesome.
Thanks for listening to Elevate the Game. If you're a mover and shaker in DFW with game to share, apply to be a guest at elevatethegamepodcast.com/guest.